Hey seniors, it's time for Unit 2. We've completed everything in Unit 1. You've completed those 3 lessons. Now we're moving on to Unit 2. Before we do, I want to give a shout out to Glenville State College, my alma mater, class of 91 right here. I also like to give a shout out to the Midland Trail Archery team. People like Carissa Cole. You go, Carissa. I've watched you guys practice and practice. You guys are awesome. I'd like to have a shout out to Andy, who qualified for the state tournament in golf next week up at Wheeling. Andy, great job. That's enough of the shout outs. Now we have to get to our notes. Hope you got your notes out. A little thing that you can either type them in a Microsoft Word document or a notebook for you to write them down, because you're gonna need them. Let's take a look. This unit is entitled Unit 2, Rights and Responsibilities. Most of this unit focuses on the amendments. Now, you guys remember from the last unit, an amendment is a change or an addition to the Constitution. And there's been 27 of them total. I know what you're thinking. You're saying, oh no, Coach Ease is going to make us memorize all 27 amendments to the Constitution. You got it, but I have tricks that will help you remember them. Tricks that will help you remember these amendments, and we're going to break them down. But before I get into the amendments that are on the United States Constitution, before we look at the first 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights, I have to activate your brain. We have to get your brain going. So I have to activate you about a snake, an old lady, and a Glock. Now, boy, if that doesn't intrigue you, I really don't know what will. One day, I was outside at my house. I hate snakes. Ugh. I just don't like them. Okay, snakes just give me the heebie-jeebies. I know, I try not to kill them. I shoo them away into the woods, but I just don't like snakes. I was outside working one day, and I heard my neighbor holler my name. She's a lady that lives next door by herself. She was hollering for me, Jeff, come over here. So I run over to the wood line, and I'm like, what do you need? And she said, there's a snake. Can you come over here and kill it? There's a snake. I said, I'll be right back. And I run over into the garage, and I grabbed the hoe. It's real sharp. And I'm going to take it back over there, and I run through the woods over to her house, to kill this snake for her. And when I get there, I'm like, where is it? Where is it? She says it's in the bush right there beside the house. She had this flowery bush beside her house, and you could see this big, long, 5 foot, that big around black snake just intertwined into that flowery bush. So I go walking over, because, hey, I don't like snakes, but I ain't going to act like I'm afraid of them in front of a lady. So I go walking over there with the hoe, and I get up in there, and my plan, I was just going to start hacking. I was going to destroy the bush, the flowers that were on it. I was just going to destroy everything to get to the snake and kill the snake too. And my neighbor stops me and says, no, don't hurt the flowery bush there beside the house. Her landscaping is very nice, and she spends a lot of time with the flowers and all of those things. So she didn't want me to destroy it. So I back up, and I'm just kind of standing there, and the snake is staring at me. His head is sticking out of the bush. He's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm holding the hoe. Have you ever tried to stare down a snake? And then you have the snake looking back at you, with those beady little eyes. So we were locked in a stare down. I really didn't know what to do, and about that time, a neighbor that lives up the road, who's an elderly woman and friends with my neighbor, she just happened to pull in the driveway in her car. She moves pretty slow, so she got out of the car and came walking over to where we were standing. She said, hey, what's going on? And my neighbor said, well, there's a snake there in that bush, and we're going to wait till he comes out, and then Jeff's going to kill it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. And the elderly woman looks at me and says, well, Sonny, quit waiting around. Just use this. And she reaches behind her, into her pants pocket and pulls out a Glock 9mm and hands it to me. And I take this 9mm in my hands. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do with it? And of course, she just looks at me and goes, well, you shoot it, son. Go shoot that snake. So I pull up the gun and, try to act all cool, You ever done that in the mirror, where you walk by and you use that famous Clint Eastwood line? You want a piece of me? You want a piece of me? So there I am with this gun. And I'm like, all right, snake, you want a piece of me? You want a piece of me? And I go to pull the trigger, forgot to take the safety off. So I have to ask the lady, hey, how do you put the safety off? She's like, well, good Lord, Sonny, I have to show you how to operate a gun. And she flipped the safety off for me, handed it back to me, and I raised that gun up and was like, boom! I dug a trench in the ground in front of that bush and snake. I never even come close to it. It just dug a trench of dirt. Dirt went flying in the air. And I started laughing. And she said, go ahead and shoot it, Sonny. Lordy, don't make me do it for you. So I pulled the gun up and said a prayer, put the sight right on that snake's face. And the snake got hit by the bullet. It flopped down out of that bush. I had severed half of its head, and I was able to take that dead snake, and later I was able to take it and drag it off, but I handed the gun back to the elderly neighbor, and she took the gun and said, good shooting, Tex, and she put it right back in the back of her pants and walked away into her car and drove off. So that's my story about a snake, an old lady, and a Glock. So you say, why, Coach, are you telling me this? Well, because that elderly lady, because of Amendment 2 in the Bill of Rights, she has the right to carry that gun in her pants. Just like any other American citizen because of Amendment 2. Now, when you think about the Bill of Rights, here we go, okay? The first of 10 amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. If I always ask teenagers right up the bat, hey, name some rights that you have guaranteed by the Bill of Rights in the Constitution. Name them. You know what? Most of you teenagers get about 3, and then y'all draw a blank. Everybody always says you have the right to free speech. Yeah. But in today's world, we have to remember you don't have the right to just say what you want to say all the time. Your right to free speech ends where the rights of others begin. The United States Supreme Court has consistently interpreted it that way. So it's their job to interpret the laws, remember, not yours or mine. But most people can name freedom of speech. Everyone always says freedom of religion, and so rightfully true in America. Thank goodness. But usually teenagers start drawing a blank after that. They usually start saying things like, we have the right to privacy. Technically, yes, but I'm going to show you where that's at in the Bill of Rights. So are you ready to take some good notes? Guess what? If you haven't guessed it, essential question number 1 says this. List and describe the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. They're also known as the Bill of Rights. You got it. That's right. We're going to go through all 10 of these amendments. And don't worry, I have tricks. I can help you remember them. Amendment 1, if something's first, then it's the biggest, the best, and the most important one. And remember, the Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution at the beginning because the original 13 states were not going to ratify this new Constitution unless there was a Bill of Rights on it to protect the citizens from the government. So, that's why the first 10 amendments were added at the beginning, so that the states would approve it. So let's look at the First Amendment, the most important, the biggest, the best. And we're just going to put this in our notes this way. You're going to put Amendment number 1. I bet you didn't realize there were 5 things in Amendment 1, did you? Right there they are. You do have freedom of speech to an extent. You have freedom of religion, the press, the media. Well, let's face it. Back in those days, there wasn't Facebook and cable TV and satellite TV. The press mainly dealt with pamphlets, newspapers, literature. But today, you have freedom of the press. You also have the freedom to petition the government. And you have the freedom to assemble peacefully. These are all guaranteed to us in the First Amendment. All 5 things. Speech and religion, press, petition, assembly. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'll never remember that. I have a way. Because, let me show you. Because now, it is time for me. It is now time for the TikTok First Amendment dance sensation. Oh yeah, I have a dance. The dance will help you remember the 5 things in the First Amendment. And I'm going to do it for you right now. The First Amendment by Coach Eads. Speech, religion, press, petition, assembly. Let's do it one more time. I'll tell you what, let's do this. All right, Carter Knuckles, get off that couch and get out of your chair. You're going to dance with me right here. You ready, Carter? All right, come on, Carissa Cole. You got to get up and do this at home by yourself. I'm watching you. Big brother's watching you. First move, speech. Second move, religion. Then we go down, press, petition, and then you do the LeBron James, assembly. First Amendment dance. Speech, religion, press, petition, assembly. I think you did pretty good there, Carter. When we get back to class, Carter, I want you to get up in front of us and do that. I think that would be great. I think Jasmine Floyd, you're going to have to get up and do this, so you better practice at home. Do it in front of the mirror. Send me a TikTok. I don't know. Those are the 5 things in the First Amendment. You will never forget them. Speech, religion, press, petition, assembly. All rights guaranteed to us. What's in the Second Amendment? Oh, all you redneck West Virginians know that one. It's the right to bear arms. Notice I got a picture of a guy with bare arms. I couldn't resist. I had to put that on there. Oh, that's funny. Now, everyone always likes to misspell this word. It's not B-A-R-E. That's bare. That's like your arms have nothing on them. Bare arms also, bare arms. But also bear means to carry. Think back to Sunday school class and church hymns. Must Jesus bear the cross alone? Must he carry it? You have the right to bear arms. That's not bear arms, bear arms. That's bear arms. You have the right to carry them. Now we're going down to Amendment 3. And let's back up just a second. I have a real easy trick for Amendment 2. Amendment 1, that's simple. You know those 5 things, and you have done the dance. Right? Emily Dempsey, did you do that dance? What about you, Taylor Brown? You should get up and do that dance. That will make you remember the First Amendment. I might decide to give bonus points if y'all send me videos of y'all doing the dance. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Y'all want some bonus points? Send me some videos of y'all doing the First Amendment dance. I think that would be fun. Amendment 2 is easy to remember. How many arms you got? You got 2. Amendment 2, right to bear arms. You'll never forget that one either. Now, Amendment 3 is a little trickier. I always think of a 3-course meal. Boy, look at that picture right there. Makes me hungry. Oh, yeah. Amendment 3 is kind of strange because what Amendment 3 does is that it gives American citizens a protection that we don't really think of today. But it says American citizens will never be required to give room and board to soldiers. We will never have to quarter soldiers. You may have to pause this and write that down. I forgot to mention that, but at any time during this video, you may pause it so you can copy down your notes. You must take good notes. Now, Amendment 3, a 3-course meal. Oh, yeah, American citizens will never be required to give room and board to soldiers. Now, that dates back to the colonial times, pre-Revolutionary War, when the King of England sent his troops over to the colonies, specifically Boston, to walk around in the streets and kind of police the colonists and make sure they were doing the things that they were supposed to be doing. And the king required the colonists to give room and board to these redcoat soldiers of the British. And the American colonists loathed, hated doing that. And they just would never let that go. And one of the things that they put into the Bill of Rights was that this government was never going to require us to give room and board to soldiers. Now, it kind of doesn't apply to today a little bit, I know, but if we were in the zombie apocalypse and the Walking Dead was real and the zombies were all over the New River Gorge and they were around my house and we had soldiers down there fighting off these zombies and protecting us, man, and if people like Caleb McCune and Griffin Nickel were fighting in the Marines for the United States Army against these zombies, if they came up and banged on my door, knocked on my door, don't tell your English teacher I said that, knocked on my door, and if they said, hey, coach, man, we're out there killing these zombies for you. Can you got some water for us? Can you give us some food? I would definitely be like, come on in, guys. I'm going to feed you. Here's some water. Take a nap, whatever you got to do. I'm going to take care of you so you can get back out there and protect me. I mean, I know I would do that. Amendment 3 may be one of those things that are a little outdated, but we have that protection and that promise, and Amendment 3 will never be required to do that. Never. That's Amendment 3. Amendment 4. Amendment 4. Shut the door. Amendment 4 protects citizens from illegal searches and seizures. You can pause me and write that down if you need to. Amendment 4. You are protected from illegal searches and seizures in America. Amendment 4 says American citizens are secure in their homes, their persons, papers, and effects, unless there is a specific warrant. Amendment 4 protects us from that. That actually goes back to pre-Revolutionary War times too, when the British soldiers had these things called writs of assistance that allowed them to search any colonist anywhere at any time for anything, and that was granted to them by the King of England just to help police these colonists, so they could just barge in at any time and search any of these colonial homes, any colonial warehouses. And you know what? The American colonists just couldn't shake that and forget that. So Amendment 4 was added into the Bill of Rights to protect us as Americans from illegal searches and seizures of evidence. Amendment 5. You ready for Amendment 5? Amendment 5. At my house, there are 5 steps that go up to my porch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So always remember Amendment 5. You must follow the steps. Amendment 5 protects the rights of an accused person. You must follow due process. You must follow the steps. Let's write it down in our notes. Amendment 5. There are 5 steps at my house. Full disclosure, that's not really the steps at my house, but I found 5 pictures, or a picture of 5 steps. I put it on there because it gives me a mental image to help me. But 5 steps. Amendment 5 says, You must follow the steps. It protects the rights of an accused person. We must follow the steps. We must follow due process. Follow the yellow brick road. Yeah, you think of the Munchkins. You know, Dorothy wants to get to the wizard. How does she go? The Munchkins all tell her, follow the yellow brick road. And then the next one goes, follow the yellow brick road. And then the next one goes, follow the yellow brick road. You must follow the steps. You must follow the yellow brick road. Amendment 5 protects the rights of an accused person. And if you're ever accused of a crime, you will be particularly happy with Amendment 5 because they will take you through due process just like they do everyone else. And if they break due process, then that breaks your constitutional rights. You can see right here that there's a couple things in Amendment 5. You've all heard of double jeopardy. You cannot be tried twice for the same crime. Protects you from being charged for the same crime over and over again. And then part of Amendment 5 allows you not to say anything if you choose not to further incriminate yourself. That's why you hear this saying all the time. I plead the fifth. People say it all the time. I plead the fifth. And they don't even know what they're talking about. I ask them. I had a student one time said, "Well, I plead the fifth." I'm like, "What are you pleading the fifth of? Fifth of liquor? Fifth of what?" "I don't know. I just plead the fifth." Well, guys, come on. It's talking about the Fifth Amendment. When you say, I plead the fifth, you're talking about the Fifth Amendment, which allows you as an accused person not to say anything. Don't say it. Let your lawyer talk for you. Amendment 5, you must follow steps, follow due process. Amendment 6. 6 is half of 12. How many people are on a jury? 12? Yeah. Okay. Amendment 6. And sometimes in small counties, they have exceptions to the 12-member jury rule and use a 6-man jury just because it's hard to get enough people for jury duty. So sometimes, like in Fayette County, we might use a 6-man jury. 6 is half of 12. There are 12 people on a jury. Sometimes there's 6 in smaller counties. But hey, guess what? Amendment 6 allows you to have. Let's go write it down. Amendment 6 gives you the right to a trial by a jury with your peers, and you have a right to a lawyer as well. If you can't afford one, then the state will provide you with a lawyer. So if you're ever accused of a crime, you have the right for a jury to decide whether you're guilty or not. Not one man, not a king who doesn't like you. A jury of your peers will decide. And they have to decide in agreement, and it has to be, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Did you get time to write that down? Just pause me right here and go write amendments. Make sure you have amendments 1 through 6 down. Pause me. Okay, we're back. Amendment 7. Civil court. I know I'm silly, but you always remember that. Amendment 7. Civil court. What does that mean? Right here, Amendment 7, civil court. Of course, I put a picture of, that looks like the snake I shot with that old lady's Glock. Ugh! You as an American citizen have the right to sue in civil court in cases that involve money and property. You have that right as an American. If you spend $3,000 manicuring your lawn, making it look the greatest ever, and your neighbor's dog comes over and digs it all up, you have the right to take them to civil court and expect some money to be awarded to you to help pay to refix your lawn that you spent all that money on. Civil court is set up so that American citizens can settle disputes involving money and property. In Fayette County, the biggest thing that takes up our civil court is divorce and custody rights. Who gets the house? Who gets the car? Who gets custody of the kids? So in Fayette County, we even have our civil court split into one section just for family court that deals with all of that. But these are civil court issues. And you have the right as an American to settle your disputes in civil court. Now we go to Amendment 8. Here's my trick for Amendment 8. Amendment 8. Seal your fate. That's right, Amendment 8. And it's right here. It protects citizens from cruel and unusual punishments and excessive bails and fines. There's the guillotine. Yep, we're not going to chop your head off in America. We're not going to take a pair of pliers and pull every one of your fingernails out. You are protected from cruel, unusual punishment. So that is a right that we have as American citizens. I know some of us might argue the excessive bail and the excessive fine. If you've ever had to pay a fine or ever tried to bail someone out of jail, you might have thought that was excessive. But Amendment 8, seal your fate, protects us from that. All right, let's go to Amendment number 9. Shrink my screen. All right, Amendment number 9. I like to call that the Miscellaneous Amendment. Now, you can pause this and write this down, and I won't explain it, but there are other rights that Americans have that are not specifically mentioned in the Constitution. Now, I'm going to explain that in a minute. Think about our founding fathers who were adding the Bill of Rights to this Constitution, how smart they were. They thought of speech and religion and the media and the press and the right to petition and assemble together and the right to bear arms, and the right to be protected from illegal searches and to have a trial by a jury. And they thought of all of this stuff, but they said to themselves, what if we forgot something? They can't think of everything. Look what they did. Amendment 9 is a blanket amendment. And it says, there are other rights Americans have that aren't specifically mentioned in this Constitution. Boom, that's it. They didn't list a bunch, or that would have been listing them in the Constitution. There are other rights that you have that we may be forgetting about, but you still have them. It's a brilliant plan by the Founding Fathers and the people who wrote the Bill of Rights to put Amendment 9 in there. We're already at 27 minutes, so I'll give you one example. Most of you teenagers, when I ask you about a right that you have, I told you at the beginning, everyone always says, we got the right to privacy. Or as they like to say in England, privacy, privacy. We have the right to privacy. Oh my gosh, I wish y'all were here instead of doing this, but anyway. The Supreme Court has consistently ruled through decisions over the years of 230 some years of our existence that American citizens do have a reasonable right to privacy in your homes, and they hide behind Amendment 9 for that. Your right to privacy is one of those things that the court system has interpreted as in Amendment 9. So that's an example. Amendment 10. I'm hungry. What about some spaghetti? Oh, yeah. You know what? Some things are better when you eat them as leftovers. Right? There's just some things that are just better leftovers. Spaghetti's one of them. Chili's another. Some of you like pizza better the next day. But Amendment 10 is the leftover amendment. Let's copy down Amendment 10. It says, anything that's not specifically delegated. Delegated. There's that word again. Delegated powers belong to who? The federal government. Anything not specifically delegated to the federal government in the Constitution is leftover spaghetti. It is left over for the states to decide. If it's not specifically mentioned in there for the federal government, it is leftover spaghetti for the states to decide. In another video, I used the example of legalization of recreational marijuana. The Constitution does not specifically delegate that as a delegated power to decide. So that's something that's just leftover spaghetti for the states to decide. That's why some states have legal marijuana and some states do not. It's up to your state to decide. Some states have legal medicinal marijuana. Medicinal, that's a cool word. It's like privacy. Medicinal. medicinal privacy. Some states have legalized medicinal marijuana, and some states do not. So that's an example of just how Amendment 10 fits into everything. And now, we have a treat. It is now time for the Bill of Rights and Interpretation by Coach Eads. So lastly on this video, it's so long, I'm gonna put the vocabulary words in another video. So you got EQ number 1 in Unit 2. You're explaining the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. So let's do them. This is an interpretation of the Bill of Rights by Coach Eads. Amendment 1. Speech, religion, press, petition, assembly. Amendment 2. How many arms you got? 2. Oh yeah, Amendment 2 is the right to bear arms. Amendment 3. A 3-course meal. Oh yeah. We'll never have to give room and board to soldiers ever again. Amendment 4. Shut the door. It protects you from illegal searches and seizures. Amendment 5. I have 5 steps. At my house, you must follow the steps. You must follow due process. Follow the yellow brick road. It protects the rights of an accused person. Double jeopardy's in there. I plead the 5th is also guaranteed to you as an accused person. Amendment 6. 6 is half of 12. There are 12 people on a jury. Oh yeah. Amendment 6 gives you the right to a trial by a jury of your peers, and you get a lawyer too. Amendment 7. Civil court. You have the right to settle disputes over money and property in civil court. Amendment 8. Seal your fate. You are protected against cruel and unusual punishment in America, and you are also protected from excessive fines and bails. Amendment 9 is the Miscellaneous Blanket Amendment. There are other rights Americans have that aren't specifically mentioned in that Constitution. For example, the right to privacy. Amendment 10, leftover spaghetti. Anything not specifically mentioned as a delegated power in the Constitution is leftover spaghetti for the states to decide. That is your Bill of Rights and Interpretation by Coach Eads. Hope it all helps. I'm going to send out the second video with the vocabulary and words in it later. Until then, this is Coach Eads. Peace out.